covers the Minnesota Vikings for The Athletic and TheAthletic.com. Learn more about him and follow him via X at Alec_Lewis. And Alec Lewis is also a noted National Football League film watcher, and he joins us now. It's 10:05. Good morning. Alec, noted film watcher. When with the film and with the All-22 you've watched of Kyler Murray before, during, and or after the signing to the Minnesota Vikings, what have you seen? And good morning.
Hey, Paul. Good to talk to you. Thanks for having me on the program. I've watched a lot of tape of Kyler going back to, I don't know, probably a month and a half ago when the season ended, and you start to hear a lot of the quarterback names that surfaced. Part of me was just like, can I, in my own head, stat these guys and what I think before I talk to people internally and externally about what they think? And, I mean, it was pretty clear from the outset that Kyler was the most talented guy of all of the available players. I think in some ways there is a misconception that he is just a playmaker. He can play in rhythm. He's pretty accurate as a thrower. The arm talent, both from a arm strength and layering perspective, is pretty good. And so, yeah, it was pretty fun to watch him. Honestly, the tape is pretty fun to watch because you don't really know always when it's out of rhythm what it's going to look like. So, the idea of pairing him with Kevin and with the way they run offense is very interesting. And I think I'm fascinated to see it. I think a lot of people around the league are too.
That's great. 10:07 KFAN Sports Talk Time. Alec Lewis from The Athletic and TheAthletic.com joins 9 to noon. As a noted film watcher, when you analyze the All-22 of Kyler Murray, and he's getting himself in trouble, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think the two things, it's a great question too. I think the two things that show up are sometimes it does look like either he misses reads, or it's a little murky from the pocket, and then he's either trying to play make and create and he's having a hard time getting out, or it just becomes kind of congested and or you get bad reads, bad quick trigger, poor results. I think that's one area. And then the other one is just when he does play make and he is creating, you just worry about the health given his size. And I think that's going to be a component that we talk about. We probably should talk about a lot because he hasn't played a full season more than once in the last 5 years. And while the talent is undeniable, I think him staying healthy is going to be a crucial component of it, as it is with all of these guys. Kevin O'Connell and Rob Brzezinski at the Combine, probably on your show and with the beat writers, made it pretty clear. When they've had a guy for 17 games, they've won at an exorbitant amount. And having that guy play an entire season is going to be critical, regardless of who it ends up being and when it ends up being Kyler.
I know the nuts and bolts of getting below the surface really matter to you with the work you put in up to games and with your stories and stuff like that, and it's greatly appreciated by me and around here. So I went deep diving on some Kyler Murray related things this morning through the Next Gen bit and the True Media bit. I was astounded to learn that in his first 2 years, 2019 and 2020, he didn't play one snap outside of kneel downs and spikes to kill the clock. He didn't play under center one time, in those 2 years. And so Drew Petzing rolls in as offensive coordinator in 2024. Then he plays under center 25% of his snaps. In fact, in I believe it was 2024, playing under center for Kyler Murray in his career, 107 of 157, 68%, 8.5 on the yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, passer rating 101.3. So that's still not that much, but have you ever Caleb Williams, I don't know if his first year with the Bears he went under center at all, maybe just a few times. Obviously, that was important with Ben Johnson last year, and they worked on it. It got better, and then it got pretty good. But Kyler Murray at 5'10", playing under center, specifically executing the play action on first down, I think that's massive. Do you?
Yeah, it's a fascinating conversation, and it gets at the subject that a lot of people locally and nationally have wanted to talk about, which is like, how do you fit this creative playmaker to a scheme that is so dialed into rhythm and has been as optimal as it's been when it has been in rhythm? And there are a couple ways to think about it. For one thing, like you bringing up the numbers is validating and verifying. Like Kyler Murray, I don't believe is at his most comfortable self when he is under center. But I do think there are a lot of instances on tape where whether it's a bootleg and you got like three players running to that side, whether it's like a play action deep shot where he can just uncork it over the middle of the field, like he really can execute that stuff pretty well. But there is no question that the Vikings staff understands that if he is more comfortable in shotgun, then there needs to be more gun. And like they understand that. These are smart guys. You know this, PA. And if that means marrying up more shotgun concepts and shotgun pass concepts, then you're probably going to have more shotgun run game than the Vikings have had. And they haven't done that a ton over the last, in Kevin O'Connell's time here. But I think one of the underrated components of the decisions that have been made over the last 2 months, you bring in a guy, Frank Smith, who is the assistant head coach, who was the OC in Miami. And guess what Miami did? They had a lot of shotgun run. And so he will bring certain concepts that I think will allow the Vikings to marry it up optimally. So I think I love this conversation. It's very fun. And in training camp, it's going to be something that we're following a lot because it's interesting. And I think it's kind of I'm going on a tangent here, but there's kind of in some ways, misconception about like the lack of adaptability. I would say like the scheme was different with Kirk Cousins than it was Sam Darnold. It was pretty clear. Like their concept shifted, the way they attack shifted, and so how they adapt, it's going to be fun to watch, and it's going to be interesting.
But I'm glad you mentioned that about the gun runs, okay? Because Kevin O'Connell, and we're going to play some KO cuts here in 30 minutes. Kevin O'Connell subtly he dropped something yesterday that I think is going to be very, very important into the 2026 season. And maybe he was asked about it. Maybe there was a follow up and I missed. But when he said, and paraphrasing, and we have new members of our staff here who are very comfortable doing something involving the offense, and I felt it tied into Kyler Murray. So then from a deducing standpoint, Frank Smith comes here from Miami and he worked with Tua. Do you think it involves that guy Frank Smith and what do you think it is?
Yeah, I think Frank Smith is going to be a major component of that. And just because, like, you talk to people about Frank Smith, and I mean, there's nothing better than Frank Smith radio here on a Friday morning, but he was the OC in Miami, the right-hand guy for Mike McDaniel. He's been in the league a long time, and I mean, I'm going to go deep cut here, but he really learned from a guy, Aaron Cromer, who has done recently exceptional work as the offensive line coach in Buffalo and has had a lot of exposure to different things, some of the under center stuff, some of the shotgun stuff. And so, yeah, I fully expect when Kevin mentioned that, I fully believe that he was referring to Frank Smith. But I also think, the run game might look different entirely in some ways, more from like a physicality standpoint with having Keith Carter as the offensive line coach. So, the run game we talked about a lot. How they approach it into 2026 is going to be interesting. And when you have a guy at quarterback who prefers a certain style, then as part of the Vikings approach and Kevin O'Connell's approach, marrying the run and the pass, like you have to marry up what they like with what, how the run game looks. So, it could look a little different. There's probably some pistol stuff sprinkled in. And again, this is scheme radio here, but I could see that being a little bit of the case as well.
The conversations and listeners are going to hear Kevin O'Connell talking about this next segment, but whether it was via the Zoom and just kind of your framing of how this thing looks with Kyler, competition, is this a competition? What do you think that conversation with J.J. McCarthy has been like? Just how are you feeling that part of the equation now with Kyler entering the room?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Kevin O'Connell was asked twice about it by ESPN's Kevin Seifert yesterday, last night. And Kevin made it pretty clear. He's like, at this point in the calendar, there's just no reason to want to go there. The way I view it is this: for the betterment of each player reaching their potential and maximizing their everyday, it's probably a sensible messaging and approach is what I would say. I have a hard time believing a guy who has accomplished what Kyler has wouldn't be the just overwhelming favorite, barring J.J. McCarthy making a massive leap. But I think that's so much of what they're trying to do here, and this was me reading between the lines of the conversation last night, was to kind of reestablish within the quarterback room a culture of competition of a certain standard. And this is a weird analogy, but I used to always think about something the Cleveland Guardians did great from a pitching development standpoint was they always had guys of similar age, of similar like-minded skill sets that pushed each other to develop and reach their maximum potential. And I think that's like Kevin O'Connell, as part of his views on quarterback development, one of them is that competition can be really healthy no matter where you're at in your career. And so I think that's why you've had kind of the narrative with this that you've had. Specifically
with Kyler, and you've mentioned it, scheme radio as it is, whether it's the run game, how it impacts Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, et cetera. Maybe we still effort in the draft for a rookie running back as well. But Kyler, the runner, it's not Lamar Jackson-like, but he's a smart runner, and he chooses his spots. I wonder if there's an element of that kind of excites Kevin O'Connell in terms of implementing some of that into the game.
Yeah, I definitely think that's possible. When they utilize that will be most important, and I would expect, just knowing how they've operated in the past, like you would likely see that stuff on critical downs and in the red zone when to use their verbiage, when it's the most weighty circumstances, because you're obviously exposing a guy to more risk, especially a guy of his stature, when you're incorporating that stuff. But some of it can create, you can dip your toe into some read option stuff where you occupy the end, and it just adds more, I would say, deception to the defense. And you can incorporate some RPO stuff that adds different layers than we've seen. So, I would say anybody questioning Kyler's athleticism at this point, there's a play in week 2 of last year against the Panthers where I don't know if his read was taken away. He steps in the pocket. He flushes to the left. And it was like a 35-yard run down the left sideline. It was like he was playing with a joystick. That is still in there, and benefiting from some of that athleticism is something I think they will do, whether it's designed or whether it just happens kind of organically.
It's day one of this thing, and we're all still digesting it. What do you think a Justin Jefferson or a Jordan Addison? What do you think the players that benefit statistically the most from the quarterback spot? What do you think? They got to be pretty excited, right? Like Jefferson, I heard it wasn't, I'm going to talk to Jefferson. I can't remember how Kyler explicitly phrased it, but at some point they'll communicate, whatever. They respect each other's game, saw each other at the Pro Bowl, et cetera. But a Justin Jefferson kind of has to be amped about this, right?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty healthy excitement from those guys. Even you're talking about, let's just say a guy on the fence of, what he's thinking for a 15th season in Harrison Smith. I definitely think there's a part of that would excite him, as well. So yeah, there's definitely that component of it. I also think these guys, and it's a testament to, I don't know, the infrastructure or the messaging or the character of the guys that there is still there's not an excitement publicly at the expense, I guess, of J.J. McCarthy. The way there's a mature approach, I'd say, with the excitement that is, it's interesting, and it's probably a top down, that's probably funnels from the top down. But yeah, there's no doubt. Everybody, staff, there was major excitement that they got this done, that they can add a guy who's accomplished what Kyler has.
What are you saying about Harrison Smith?
What I'm saying is, I think the signing of Kyler Murray definitely would pique his interest. But I mean, Harrison Smith it's pretty clear. He's up in the air right now with where he's at and coming back. I don't expect like an imminent resolution there over the next few weeks or probably months. But there's no doubt that for a guy like him to play at this point, he would want to believe that this thing has a very clear likelihood and possibility of thriving. So I think this would definitely pique his interest, I would say.
Somebody told me this morning when I went searching for Kyler Murray's team that the Minnesota Vikings, quote, are balling on a budget, end quote. So therefore, balling on a budget, Kyler Murray now in the fold on a ham sandwich deal. We can call it a deli deal. That's where you get ham sandwiches. It's a year and $1 million and change. What do you think is next?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, that is probably a good way to frame what's happened here. It's been interesting. I've been trying to think of an analogy of what it is like when free agency starts and there's all this activity and the team doesn't do a ton, and it's like this. The phrase the kids would use would be FOMO of like, all these other teams are adding players and we're not. What are we doing? But I think the way the Vikings have viewed this specifically this year is like, why would you spend top of the market money on middle of the market type talent? And yes, there are holes to fill, but trying to fill them immediately as opposed to optimally, I'm not sure is like the most sensible strategy. So that's kind of how I would describe the thought behind what they've done and what they haven't done. As far as what's next, I mean, I will say this. This draft is going to be just absolutely massive. They have 9 picks. Yeah. You're going to see positions targeted like center, like receiver, probably like defensive tackle. I mean, potentially a safety. So that's one critical component. And then if there are acquisitions at this point, I expect them to be kind of lower level guys they've evaluated and identified as potential like real fits with their system to be able to maximize those players. I would also say, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they add another quarterback at some point that is of a more veteran kind of laden stature to just add further insurance to the room. Who that might be, I'm not incredibly certain, but that would be another kind of spot, I would say.
Hey, let me ask you this, Alec, because we were all just, I'm speaking for you in this case, but I was, and I feel like most people, shocked by what happened with the Ravens and Max Crosby and all of that, and 2 first-rounders, and the deal's done. Oops, the physical, enter Trey Hendrickson, et cetera. But, that kind of overshadowed, or maybe in some respects brought into the spotlight, either way you look at it, Jonathan Grenard. And what's going, and that's still kind of, again, just kind of put me off a little bit, like the idea that, maybe he's looking for a significant raise to his deal, a couple years left on it. It's a sweetheart deal for the Vikings, of course, as it is right now. But in terms of what the Vikings could attain by trading him, and man, it'd be worth it if we got a first round pick of some sort. Could we get a first round pick? You've seen all the arguments. I'm sure you participated in the conversations. Where are we at with Mr. Grenard here? I mean, I hate to say it like this. I don't want to lose Jonathan Grenard, and it worries me if he's no longer in the fold and what the answer is in return. Where are we at with Mr. JG?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should feel like you don't want to hate to say it, because he is a dang good player. And I mean, the way I've talked about this is Brian Flores has said publicly in press conferences many, many times that a guy can record 10 sacks, but if he plays 1,000 snaps, what is he doing on the other 990 snaps? And with Jonathan Grenard, when he is healthy, he sets the edge at a really impressive level, and he gets to the quarterback against pretty high-level tackles. Like, that's just what he's done within the league, and you guys both know, having been around it as much as you are, like what his presence has meant for this locker room. And so I, from the outset, have said, like, I don't think the Vikings want to lose Jonathan Grenard at all. The question has become if he and his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, want more money. The Vikings were malleable to them communicating with other teams. I know that some other teams are like, I mean, the money here is, I mean, it's just hard to really work around. And so ultimately, if there is not another team that steps up with draft capital or money to pay Jonathan Grenard what he wants, it would be interesting to see if he returns, what that would, how that would look from a monetary perspective. Would anything change? Would the Vikings try to tweak something to make it more amicable? I mean, you go down that road, but I mean, you've seen it. So you got the Ravens, they signed Trey Hendrickson. The Eagles last night added a guy, Arnold Ebiketie, who played with the Falcons and I think is a pretty interesting edge rusher. I know like the Commanders at one point were interested, but they have now Odafe Owe and Kayvon Chason. The Indianapolis Colts have been kind of in the edge rusher market. So we'll just see if there's a team that steps up, and if not, how that would then look from how the Vikings and Grenard kind of managed through it.
Last one for Alec Lewis, Athletic, theathletic.com.
I know they've done some revising, whether it's TJ Hawkinson. I think this deleting of that year is actually more intriguing to me and interesting and talkability wise to me than the 5-year savings. But like a Brian O'Neill final year of his deal, are there other things like that functionally with the team? Guys we already have, guys we like that, hey, that contract looks a little funky. I wonder what's next for some of those. Have you been kind of creating a list of any sort on that front?
Yeah, so Brian O'Neill, I know his representation met with the Vikings in Indianapolis, and I'm not, right now where do the extension conversations stand? I'm not totally sure, but there's no question that both sides have a great relationship, and I think both sides would be amenable to that one. Blake Cashman would be another guy who's in the final year, entering the final year of his deal. Obviously, the local ties are what they are, and his importance to the system, I still think, has gone a little bit under the radar and underrated in terms of what he's meant to Brian Flores' defense. But those two are probably how I would, where I would think about that. I mean, Jordan Addison, the Vikings are going to have to decide on the 5th-year option, believe May 1st. So there's some other stuff swirling there, but I mean, they've done a lot of work over the last couple of weeks, and it'll be interesting whether it is the positions I mentioned, like center or running back via the draft, or wide receiver 3, or et cetera, like how they go about trying to plug holes there over the next month or so is going to be interesting to me, at least.
Hey, since we don't know when we'll next chat with you, let me get this out of the way before we say goodbye. With the redoing of Aaron Jones' deal and Jordan Mason in the mix, does that mean like how highly would you put a percentage that the Minnesota Vikings will not be drafting a running back in rounds 1, 2, or 3, Thursday or Friday?
Yeah, I mean, I would say two things. One, I mean, it depends who's available. Like if somehow Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame fell to number 18, which isn't going to happen, but if in the realm of possibility that happened, like it would be hard for me to rule that out because I think the team really likes him and he is an electric back. As far as second, third round, I mean, you guys both know this, like oftentimes if you're taking a running back in the 5th round, I mean, you're like betting a 15% chance that guy's going to hit. Whereas if you take a running back in the 2nd or 3rd round, it's probably closer to a 30% chance where you're probably more likely to shoot the shot. So I wouldn't rule out something like that. But I the way they want to view this draft, I think, is like, okay, how do we objectively stack the board of who we like? We know the positions we need. We're not going to, just draft for need. And when players align, we will take them. And if that's at running back, I think even though Aaron Jones is back, I just would never say never because they do view the position as important. And I think that's right for them too. That's why Travis Etienne's name came up a little bit, early in the free agency period, but he was paid an exorbitant amount. So that's kind of how I look at that one.
Well, thank you for the time and have a wonderful weekend, okay?
Always great to be on, to speak with you guys. Enjoy the weekend. I heard it's going to snow. I'm in Nashville. I heard it's going to snow a lot. And, I mean, I don't know. I might stay in Nashville. That's what I'll say.
That's what they're saying. I mean, just when you think you have the snow plows put away, that's how Minnesota winter works. Hey, great chatting with you, and I look forward to seeing you soon, okay?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Alec Lewis, The Athletic, and theathletic.com. Second half of the radio show begins with some KO cuts. This is the Friday Football Feast. This is 9 to noon.
Hey, PA. John in Phoenix here, formerly of Minneapolis. The consensus among Cardinals fans about Kyler seems to be one of frustration because they saw the elite play, they saw the high-end playmaking ability, and they just weren't able to harness it for long enough and put him in a scheme and with coaching that would allow him to succeed consistently. I think KOC will do that, especially with utilizing Justin Jefferson and Kyler in that connection.
Thank you very much for the talk back, John, and safe travels. Are glad you were able to find some warmth in Arizona. This is 9 to noon. It's 10:35. Trivia question for everybody. Think about it for a second. It's Kyler Murray related. Kyler Murray, a new quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, has thrown 9 pick sixes in his career. 1 went to the Minnesota Vikings. Who caught it and scored?
Well, I know who it is. Do I want to give listeners 5?
Answer.
4. It's Nick Vigil.
Kyler with a new right tackle. Shotgun, back to pass. Straight drop. Intercepted by Nick Vigil. 30, 20, 10. Touchdown! The first touchdown of Nick Vigil's career comes from the arm of Kyler Murray. It's a 38-yard return, and the Vikings have taken a 29-24 lead. KO cuts.
KO cuts. KO, Kevin O'Connell addressing the media yesterday virtually. Here he is talking about the research and the time he spent just getting to know Kyler's game in the NFL a little more deeply.
There's an extensive film study where you're evaluating the player, but you're also getting a head start on really, really learning what the player has done, some of the concepts that they've run, the ease at which they run those concepts of throwing a lot of completions and playing with great rhythm and timing with footwork in the pocket, of both clean pockets and the NFL pockets that you see with the types of pass rush that you play against.
So do you think earlier in the show, PA, talking about the amount of time or the lack of time that he spent under center earlier in his career, and then what he would have seen, Kevin O'Connell, I'm speaking of, in terms of what he would have seen under Drew Petzing's offensive tutelage the last couple of years. Which of those two means more to O'Connell moving forward? Is it just that obvious, okay, Petzing's got him under center and he's flourishing, or is it in the right spots, little college-ish air raid style, but finding some of the deep opportunities that he did earlier in his career with Cliff Kingsbury? What do you think weighs a little heavier as he joins the Minnesota Vikings?
That's very difficult to answer. I just know whether it's Kevin O'Connell or it's an offensive-minded coach, or just how about just running offense in the history of the National Football League. If you can't get the defense to second guess what's happening because you've turned your back to the defense,
yeah,
what are you worth? I mean, quite honestly, if you can't run, Ben Johnson's super well respected. I mean, he's so good at what he does. His A topic the entire offseason was getting Caleb Williams to learn how to play under center, turn his back on the defense, and play action and run play action. You know, where you fake the ball to the tailback, but you got linebackers, safeties, and or corners, maybe even defensive linemen, taking just a fraction of a second or just a little baby step thinking, uh-oh, here comes the run. Oh, no. And then they retreat. I mean, that is so pivotal.
Just a flinch.
It's so pivotal when it comes to running high-end offense. And if you missed it earlier from what I said, I mean, if it matters to you, it matters to me. The first 2 years of Kyler Murray's career with Cliff Kingsbury as coach of the Arizona Cardinals, he didn't run one under center play. It was astounding when I learned this morning. Not one time in 2019 or 2020 did he go under center outside of a kneel down or outside of killing the clock at the end of a half or end of a game. So his career under center, when he goes under center, and it all changed in 2024 when they had a new offensive coordinator. He's a 68% passer on 157 throws. The yards per attempt of 8.5 is really good. So when he goes under center, they were finding the right times to do it. They were striking at 8.5 yards per attempt. The passer rating was 101.3, but just 7 touchdowns against 3 interceptions, which indicates it just wasn't happening a lot. But that doesn't mean the young man is not comfortable doing it. In fact, it's listening to him talk about it in other arenas. I think he's pining to show people I can do this and I can do it well. Now at 5'10", to be in the shotgun, then get the snap, you immediately get a quick scan on the field and the pass rushers. To be under center and then go play action, take the handoff to somebody and turn your back on the defense, then turn around and make something happen. At 5'10", you better know where they're coming from right in front of you, because that's what makes it easier to do out of the pistol formation, short shotgun, somebody behind you, or out of the shotgun. All of this is very compelling to me.
It is indeed. The running skill of Kyler Murray, the coach thinks he can work with that.
The ability to make a lot of throws in the pocket is absolutely paired with the ability to be a real weapon with his athleticism, his quickness, his ability to, not only attack the line of scrimmage as a runner, but, maintaining the ability to create some throwing opportunities off schedule and hopefully be a challenge for the way we're defended with how people do play Justin.
Looking forward to seeing that running ability now to the multiple quarterbacks.
Well, what Kevin just said there is very important, and it bears explaining, because Justin Jefferson, with the doubles and the triples that Kevin O'Connell talks about all the time, and it's accurate. You go back and watch it, and you can see the boxes they're trying to put. They put Jefferson in, trying to suck a quarterback into something they think they see, then they throw it, and then somebody undercuts it and picks off the pass. But Jefferson faces, by far, his most intense, enveloping coverage on downs 1 and 2. On first and second down, that the approach, specifically the last couple of years, has been, we're going to triple this guy. We're going to make you go somewhere else on the early downs because we know how important it is to you and everybody to not be in 2nd and 10 and to not be in 3rd and 8 or longer. So we're going to take this guy out of the equation. We're going to put you in a predictable 3rd down passing situation, and then we're going to play 18 differently because we got to take others away. That's a cat and mouse facet of why I went down the road of the importance of quarterbacks playing under center, the lack of frequency that has taken place with under center play for Kyler Murray, and why, when he goes under center on first down, like in 2024, when things changed for him, okay, they had an offensive coordinator there where the totality of the game mattered. The shiny toy aspect, playing the college football hash mark game, that was like, okay, that's great and everything, but let's try this. So in 2024, with a competent coordinator, Kyler Murray goes under center on first down, and his passer rating was 120.7. Now, he only did it 54 times because it was a work in progress, but he went 38 of 54, 509, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. And while going under center on first down in 2024, his completion percentage in that situation was 71.7. So it's very, very important that this transpires on first and or second downs for Kyler Murray to help free Justin Jefferson.
More from the coach on the other QBs, the competition aspect of it.
Elevating that floor so that that will benefit not only those players individually, It'll benefit the collective group of guys in that room that Josh is running. And then ultimately, because the position is so vital to offensive success in the National Football League, it will elevate our offense and our team.
And meanwhile, J.J. McCarthy, I know we've all forgotten, he's still on the team and he's working hard.
JJ's, I talked to him this week. We had, a great conversation, and as we have most of the offseason, about the good work that he's done. He's focused on what's out in front of him personally, and he's attacking that every single day. He's doing great, and as well as Max is.
When Kevin said that yesterday, I wondered to myself, and maybe others wondered, when he said, I talked to JJ this week, that's different than saying, I talked to JJ McCarthy right before this went down.
Yeah. Okay,
so read into it however you want when it comes to the perception of what people think somebody feels about JJ McCarthy. When he says I spoke with him this week, I mean, I don't think that's an aberration. I think O'Connell and others chat with JJ McCarthy a fair amount. Now, this John Beck quarterback school. What if things are transpiring with JJ McCarthy at this quarterback school where when he comes back and they, quote, compete, end quote, or they get a chance to see JJ off what he's done with this school that's outside of the coaching acumen here and Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. Well, what if he comes back? He'll be bigger. I mean, he's 23 years old. He has a right to grow. So he's going to grow. He has a right to mature. But what if some things really, really click with J.J. McCarthy at this California quarterback school? in a game where nobody wants to give anybody else credit. I mean, it's like we don't have our hands on him. He's not in the building. He's not on the grass. Whoa.
Yeah.
So that I think that's fair to bring up, that the absolute hope from yours truly is if things have ascended and or improved with J.J. McCarthy somewhere else while he grew and he comes back and has an opportunity to display them, the assumption and the expectation is he absolutely gets a chance to display them and perhaps turn this into a competition. You know what I mean?
Well, the onus is absolutely on him to return from that training that he's doing out west with John Beck. The onus is on him when he gets those opportunities to display it in spades. Now, the one question that I would have, because I'm wondering the same thing, JJ, that's why I brought it up with Alec. Like competition, and I'm using finger quotes, and I know this is radio, people can't see that. Competition, what does that mean? Right. And how real is that? The reason I wonder about it is if I'm Kevin O'Connell and I'm entering year 5 and he can play all those games, he wants to win games no matter what, whether this is year 2 or year 5, but year 5 as it is, and how the timeline has shifted. How do you trust J.J. McCarthy at this stage? How do you trust what you see on the practice field? How do you trust in training sessions? You're going to have those conversations, and I'm not saying all of it is completely immaterial, but what you have in terms of a sample size, it's only 10 games. In a competitive environment, you have this body of work from J.J. McCarthy. On the other end of it, hasn't always been roses for Kyler either, ladies and gentlemen, but you do have a significantly more accomplished body of work from Kyler Murray. And so if I'm the head coach, competition certainly exists, and the whole level of the room is going to do what he wanted it to do. It's going to rise. But how much can you really trust J.J. McCarthy on the practice field until you get him into a game that truly counts?
Right.
I don't think it's a competition at this stage.
And I'm in lockstep with you. However, the game at Ford Field last year against a team you never beat.
Yeah.
You never beat them all of a sudden. They beat you almost every time.
Yep. And
they run up 30 on the ballyhoo defense. All right?
Yeah.
Not last year, but that was the case before.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we know Ben leaves. It's all regurgitated.
But still, it was Laporta. It was that game was weird.
Was that a big game? Yes.
Big game.
How'd JJ play?
He played well.
So it's there.
Yep.
So when it comes to the onus being placed on the quarterback, yes, it has become that situation, whether people like it or not. The word trust is multifaceted because if you're hard-headed and you've shut down opportunities with a 22-year-old in that he can't, there's a difference between he needs to work on this
right,
as opposed to he can't do this.
Yep.
And so therefore the trust aspect of it, in my estimation, comes back to the head coach. You got to trust yourself to recall things you saw that led you to drafting him. Okay, so you put him in certain situations in the middle of the field, may be problematic. And the John Beck quarterback training, whatever it is, handling it ain't 11 on 11. So it's not going to be, all right, JJ, we hear you really have trouble between the hash marks, not getting suckered into things in the middle of the field. So if you believe a voluminous part of the playbook involving what is the coach's strength, the head coach's strength is attacking middle zones and getting players on the run and getting players over it. Okay, the middle of the field, it's a McVay staple, and O'Connell is a limb on the McVay tree. So to say that McCarthy, like you put it perfectly, no, he's not handling that now. That's not happening now in California. But will he be given an opportunity when he comes back to show,
yeah,
I can now better handle this?
Yep.
Or what other facets are leading to this?
Yeah. And
very well explained by you.
And so in the training sessions, that's where he just has to ace every single moment. And you feel bad about putting this, you mentioned 22, 23 years old, young cat, limited, his first year taken away by injury, but the truth or just the real life living of the league is such that he's absolutely up against it. He is last leg standing, desperation, has to be perfect every stretch of the way for this thing to truly be a competition. So I hope he's improved, man. I mean, we drafted this kid 10th overall. It's not about rooting for somebody to fail here.
Correct.
But in the small sample size we have, it wasn't good enough, which has now put us where we are here talking about Kyler Murray.
All right, we have 2 breaks from Kyler Murray conversation in the Kyler the Creator Covenant. That makes up 9 to noon. KFAN Sports Time is 10:52. Good morning. One of them is next with News du Nord. One team was not able to get the money last night, but did get a point. Another team has a massive basketball game tonight. We'll be right back. I want to thank the Minnesota Vikings for signing Kyler Murray yesterday and having press conferences and everything. I want to thank them for the attention diversion when it comes to the producer of 9 to noon, Eric Nordquist, mad producer. And here's what I mean.
Sorry, KFAN.
If Kyler Murray doesn't sign yesterday and we don't have press conferences and don't turn it into the Kyler Covenant with all of this under center conversation, hand span is coming up too, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, KFAN.
He probably would have got into some of the Vox in the Box yesterday and found the 2 times. Yours truly said, the Wild are going to win by at least 2 tonight. In fact, I think it's going to be they're going to win by 3 or more.
Good golly. Oh, this is disgusting.
But alas, it's the Kyler Covenant, so attention has been diverted.
We all escape alive. News du Nord, very truncated today. It's brought to you by The Casino, Canterbury Park. And it's poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. Live music events, cool expos. It's family fun. Live racing kicking off in the spring. My favorite place in Shakopee to go is Canterbury Park. So I think you should too. And it's CanterburyPark.com, the website to get started. And I will play the highlight from last night's hockey game.
Konechny slowly ahead. Volstead out the challenge. Konechny, a shot, he scores. Snuck it past Volstead, short side. And the Flyers rally in the third, win the shootout 1-0.
Sure do.
And they take this game 3-2 here tonight in St. Paul.
Yeah, 3-2, the shootout final. And, I mean, it's one of those games. We did talk about it during Vox in the Box yesterday.
Russo nailed it.
This kind of team, you get up so high after just smashing the Mammoth, and it's Emil Andre, I believe, really late stages of the first period. But then it's like, oh, that's right, we're better than this team. And you get Kaprizov and Boldy, or Boldy and then Kaprizov in the second period. But that shorty they gave up in the third, man. I mean, it's a bad team where you're just kind of trying to moonwalk to the finish line here at this stage of the season. I don't know. But it was like the Wolves-Clippers game where, hey, if I told you the Wolves were going to shoot nearly like 60% from the field and hit 45% of their threes, you're feeling pretty good about the Wolves winning that game. Oh, wait, Kawhi went for 45. They shot for like 65%, and they hit 19 triples. Last night, hey, 57% of the face-offs won by your favorite team. You get a power play tally.
Wow.
Your two big-timers both score.
Yep.
And oh, wait, you hit the bleep out of them, and you find your way limping to the finish line of a shootout in which Konechny daggers you. It's just, if you look at the stat line, you're shocked that you lost that game. Just kind of disappointed, but that's the kind of team at this spot of the schedule that played out that way.
4 things, and they'll be incredibly fast. Of course, the Dallas Stars won last night, so props to Kevin Gorg, and shame on me for actually insinuating a team that employs Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Evan Bouchard can compete with anybody. KG's like, good luck with that, and he's right. I think the final was 7-2 Dallas. So if you're trying to get home ice against the Stars, well, that was not a great development. Secondly, the Flyers have beaten us 6 of the last 7 times, swept us this year. Yeah. Don't know what it is with the Philly Flyers, but that happened. Thirdly, Heinze started 9 to noon yesterday, and I asked him about some of the important facets of last night's game. And he with the team on a back-to-back. They were 3-6 on back-to-backs, and they had been beaten 17-7 in their last 3 back-to-backs. He said, take them out of the game early. You know, they played last night. They're sharp. You got to beat them up early and jump them early. All right, we were down 1-0 at the end of the first period. Speaking of Heinze, the post-game press conference, for those who saw it, it's as mad, as ticked off as I've ever seen John Hines in a press conference, and I watch most, if not all of them, even if I don't see the game. And he was talking about that was a mindset game, and our mind wasn't set the right way. I mean, he was a mad individual in that press conference.
To the Wolves, they play at the Bay. They're at the Dubs this evening. It's a 9 p.m. tip-off, and it's going to be on Prime. Wolves have lost 3 in a row, and frankly, against the Clippers, it looked ugly at times. But tonight, against a non-play, well, I think they're in the play-in. I shouldn't speak too illy of the Dubs. The fact is they need this one, PA.
Yeah, the last 3 losses, okay? Orlando, I'm not going to break down the Orlando Magic. We talked about it early in the week. Better than a lot of people think. The LA Lakers in the second half went lights out. They played so good in the second half. And the LA Clippers have given you problems now this season more than one time.
Yeah.
This Golden State Warriors team tonight without Steph Curry should be beat by a team that has aspirations to get to the Western Conference Finals. So we'll see what happens tonight. We've been blown out 3 consecutive times. There was a little fight that broke out at the end of the LA Clippers game. Jaden McDaniels got tired of somebody jawing at him. So players are gathering at center court to fist bump. Hey, good luck, good luck, good luck.
Yeah.
Jaden McDaniels and some rube are starting to fight. So what does that mean? Frustrations are boiling over.
Yes, they are.
And by the way, Sunday at noon, I think noon or 1, something like that, you're at OKC. And if you are vulnerable...
Oh, great, another matinee game.
If you are vulnerable... they're okay on the road with it, believe it or not. They beat Memphis and killed somebody else. Yeah. But if you're vulnerable and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and then the Cats smell blood, they'll beat you by 50. And they'll keep their best players in the fourth quarter to show you what they think of you. These are tenuous times right now. Dane Moore podcast joins about 20 minutes from now.
That's News du Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. I can see via the video link. He's putting down, what is he, reading Aristotle right now? Well, we're going to check in with Pete Bursich around the corner to chat Vikings and Kyler Murray.
That's next. It's the Kyler Covenant to begin the final hour at FM 100.3 KFAN.